Welcome back to Sunday with Michael Portillo. A fragile ceasefire is currently in place in Gaza. Over the past few weekends, we've seen hostages abducted in Israel released from the group of Hamas. Many were shocked by the emaciated condition of those who were paraded yesterday by Hamas prior to being handed over. Israel has released large numbers of Palestinian prisoners from its jails. My next guest has been present at such hostage releases, working with families in the heart of Israel. She's also made a film about the October 7th attacks. Jill Samuels joins me now. Welcome to GB News. First of all, you were in Israel before and on the date of October the 7th.
Absolutely.
What was it like?
Well, first of all, what people don't realise, because it's never reported, is that there are tons of rockets coming over to Israel, more than I've seen in years. And this isn't a normal life. Children with women with babies, have to run down 10 flights of stairs. You've got 90 seconds. So before the build-up to this, there were rockets, 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock. I have no idea why it was allowed to go on so long. In England, can you imagine over your house, all these rockets coming? It wouldn't happen. And then just a few days before, a week before, I can tell you there was this stressful atmosphere. No one could put their finger on it. It was heavy. It was very heavy. It's as if someone knew something was going to happen, but obviously no one could even think of something like this.
No.
But it was awful, yeah.
Tell me about the film that you've made.
I made a film. I started when I was there and the war, but this is all before the war, which is very important. It's on the hostages. When the hostage taking happened, I woke up in the morning, I thought I was in a Die Hard film or something. There were people flying in, people doing this. Everything was everywhere. And I tell you what was amazing. The young people in the country, the young girls, started to run that country. And the one thing about Israel is when there's the worst disaster in the world, it kicks in. Yeah. Amazing. So suddenly I was taken to a drop-off centre to help there, and Ethiopians and Thai and Filipino and everyone who had nothing were dropping off clothes. The people had to be moved out of the south. Everyone was traumatised. Total shock, horrific. And then you saw people kissing their little boys, who are little boys going into the army, the girls going back to the army. People all around the world came in. The Christians came in. The cowboys from Montana came in. Indians came in to help. People came in to help. It was incredible, not obviously with the army, with the agriculture, but what they did in that country. And then in 48 hours, they set up something called the Forum for Hostage Families. Again, someone donated a building. In 24 hours, this was set up. The whole campaign, Bring Me Home campaign, which is now worldwide, set up through this. All manned by volunteers. For every kind of need that these hostages need. Everything.
How did that lead you to make a film?
Well, because I started taking testimonies. It's the best thing I knew of people. And it was just to me like my parents' stories of the Holocaust. It was horrendous and disgusting and vile. And everyone was the same word story. And I thought, I've got to do something with footage. And I came across this wonderful man who'd lost so many of his family. And he didn't hate. Because no one realises, before, when the kibbutzes were born, there weren't borders, so everyone was friendly. He grew up, his parents were friendly, the Gardens came to Israel, these people they helped, they'd been in their house, they had jobs on the kibbutzes. These were their friends. And so this was an extraordinary man who had lost a lot of family and he had spent his whole time trying to save the life of his daughter, not once, but twice from Hamas.
Yes.
And that was an incredible story, and I thought it was important to have one who didn't hate.
That is very interesting. How does one see the film?
Well, it's very interesting. I wouldn't fund it through anybody. I wasn't going to have the BBC telling me I couldn't call it terrorists for some ridiculous reason. Ridiculous. I wasn't going to have someone else tell me this. I paid for it, so no one can say it's biased. No one can say they've put money into it. My non-Jewish editor, Stan Moore, who's a really good editor, volunteered his services. Simon Hunt, again, non-Jewish. It was lovely in England to find non-Jewish people with all these stupid marches going on. All these people volunteering their services. Twickenham Studios gave me their services. And then I decided any money I make from this is going towards these people. I'm not earning a penny. So
towards these people, the hostages and their families?
It's the actual people who are hostages or came from the kibbutzes who mentally feel they can't go back after the rebuild. It's like going back to Auschwitz. They lost 8 family, 10 members of their family. They mentally can't go back. And so it was interesting because they have no idea outside the kibbutz life. They went to a bank to get a mortgage. They've got nothing. The kibbutz, they get their salary paid for, everything's paid for, so they have no money. So this is to raise money for them to get a mortgage. There's a few people, a lot of people do want to go back. They love their life in the kibbutz. Everyone loved it. But the ones who mentally can't go back. And that was very important.
I'm not sure whether you said this. Where can we see the film?
Right. Well, I've decided it went on Kenyan television. I'm doing it to every country that doesn't normally get it. Kenyan television had millions and millions and millions of viewers a few weeks ago. Filipino television's doing it in a few weeks. They had 4 people, unfortunately, who died, Filipinos who died in the attack, one of them died in the arms of her person she was looking after. It's on a streamer in America. Contact London, I don't know if you know Contact London, they did a whole thing of it and called it none of the top 10 films. I'm doing it very slowly. Rwanda showed it. That was very important to me. And it was for people 18 to 35 of the genocide.
People who'd experienced.
Yeah, they cried. They wanted to see it again. So it's going in theatres, it's going in cinemas, and it's on a streamer called Skyflix in America, Australia, New Zealand and Canada.
You have been very clear that you don't want to show the bodies of people. You don't want you...
Absolutely.
Yes. So, nonetheless, you create a sense of the absolute horror of that day, even though you don't see the bodies of the victims.
Yes. I think it was very important because people were so traumatised to show their children. For me personally, to show their children in that state, I interviewed Sagi in the hospital. And he was a traumatised, gaunt, traumatised man. He still is. I couldn't take advantage of that fact. That's what I felt. I also want it for schools, for museums and people like that. But the one thing I came across which is horrifying is the United Nations, UNRWA. It took me into a world that I was so horrified by. I mean, you only have to look at the Red Cross the other day with the exchange of prisoners. How dare they have this show and shake hands with the head of the Hamas, the people? It was extraordinary.
What is it you've got to say about the United Nations agency working in Gaza?
I think the United Nations agency, they've been shielding people. They've had people... Look, in England, we have hospitals. We can't even get a bed in. We're sleeping on the floor. We've got water coming from the roof. We'll all be sitting with umbrellas. What does Keir Starmer do? He gives another £13 million to UNRWA, which is their buildings, which has been shielding. Their staff have been involved in the kidnap. They've got rockets in the bed. They've got rockets under the bed. I don't want my tax money going there. I've seen what's happening there with my own eyes. I want our tax money here. It is a disgrace he's done it. He knows about it. He was told about it by Emily, the girl who was shot twice in the leg, that she was held, she told him, in an UNRWA building. And then he's gone and paid 13 million of our tax money to terrorists. They're no more than terrorists, in my personal opinion.
May I ask for your reaction to the sight of the 3 hostages released yesterday? Eli Sharabi was one of them, looking very, very gaunt. His wife was murdered, his 2 children were murdered. He lost his brother in a failed hostage rescue attempt. What was your reaction? My
reaction was total heartbreak, and I can cry now. I'm looking at the Holocaust. I'm looking at the Nike generation of Holocaust, because the Holocaust, a lot of kids now can't recognise it because they're wearing long coats, whatever. I never thought I'd see this in my life. It broke my heart, the gauntness, the tragic... It was just like looking at the Holocaust. And again, how dare the Red Cross allow these people in this condition to go on a stage and be told what to do? They weren't even safe to get out that car. None of them have been in that exchange. The Red Cross are there to protect the people. They should have said, no, it's not safe, we'll go somewhere else. They didn't. What they did do was they sat on the stage, shook hands with the man in charge of all this from Hamas. Let's have a cup of tea. It was horrific.
And this was the humiliation of the hostages, the display of these people in there.
It is a humiliation for every hostage, every Jew, every human being, because they weren't this whole thing about being Jewish hostages, by the way. We've got Muslims still there. We've got, this is international, interfaith, but no, because it was Israel, it's Jewish. What they did is despicable. The whole world should look, because you know what? They say first the Saturday people, then the Sunday people, and this will come. So look, it's horrific.
Jill Samuels, thank you very much, and congratulations on your film. Coming up, President Trump is unleashing his new economic policy on the world in the form of tariffs. Professor David Dunn will join me to discuss what impact that's having across the globe. But first, news headlines from Sophia Wednesday.